Darren. This is lesson module number 4, and I just wanted to put out a bit of a blog. This isn't very well formulated. I'm just talking off the top of my head here. But this week we were talking about. I'm reading your big ideas here in this learning module for number 4, and the term of labeling and what schools do to play a part in creating inequalities, even though it might be through good intentions. And I've struggled with this lesson module. And when you see my response this week, you'll see that I took it from the approach of is it really a bad thing? These boxes that we put students in, or the inequality. I took a different approach because I find a lot of students, a lot of students in this program, a lot of my colleagues, try to give you what they think you want to hear, and they're not actually free thinking or looking at different aspects, I guess, of what we're trying to be taught. And I try to look at both sides of it. So I tried to give a different perspective this week from the alternative view, I suppose, of are labels a bad thing? And do schools really play a part in this? I struggle with this subject because I think a lot of school directed initiatives are driven by government decisions. Government decides curriculum and tells us how to do it, how to deliver it. We do have a lot of freedom to approach it in ways that work depending on the district or region that you're in. But I think a lot of the mandate comes from government, and we react to a lot of the social pressures that are out there. I think diversity and inclusion is a very hot button topic, more so now than, say, 10 years ago. And I think schools do the best possible approach, I guess, to making it equal for everyone, whether that's through signage, whether that's through organizations at school. And sure, maybe by creating a diversity alliance in a school, you are isolating some. There are forms of segregation through that. But I think it's a very trial and error process, which has good intentions along the way. But I often wonder if government mandates didn't come into the education system, would schools do anything? You know, I struggle with this topic, and I've shared with you my personal beliefs and how I didn't think education and social issues should ever be interwoven. And then as time progressed, I saw how important some of these issues were to me. But I think there's a line where we need to draw in terms of, I wouldn't say accountability, but finger pointing on how schools further an issue. I don't think there is any situation, regardless of how you approach it, that it will ever, what's the word I'm looking for, where everyone will always be satisfied. I think there will always be room for someone to say, you could have done this a bit better. And no matter how many times that you do that trial and error, you will never get it right. Somebody will always be excluded. Somebody will always be left out. In my lesson module entry, I did say that students are purposely put into boxes in order to drive the economy. If you had an entire school, province, country of students that were treated equally, students afforded the same opportunities, you would have nothing but university graduates. You would have nobody to work at a convenience store, to work at a grocery store, to work as a garbage man, garbage woman, for example. I think there are roles in society that need to be fulfilled. And I don't think necessarily giving everyone the same opportunity, exhausting resources to give people the same opportunity, is the right idea. I think what you're doing in that sense is you are trying to force a square peg into a round hole. I think some people are just predispositioned to uh, reach a certain level of academic success in life. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think we put a lot of merit, a lot of weight into what we consider to be academic success, where some people would just naturally be satisfied with being a garbage man or woman. I think by putting so much emphasis on equity and diversity and inclusion may be forcing an issue at times. I think everyone should be treated fairly. I think everybody should be given as much opportunity to succeed as possible. But I think there's a fine line where we are jamming uh, these issues down people's throats, and we might be pushing people into positions that they necessarily should not be in. In my lesson module, I also said to my colleagues that we, in a sense, as educators promoting the skilled trades, are benefactors of this new curriculum that the government has introduced. And by teaching the trades, but by telling young people to get into a trade, we are limiting students. So that's why I've struggled with this, because personally, and this may sound wild to you, if I had the financial might, the resources, and I had a son that I thought who could achieve academic success, I would have steered him as far away from the skilled trades as possible. I think they're incredibly demanding on the body. They take a physical toll, they take a mental toll, they take a social toll working around fellow tradespeople. I would have much rather my son pursue an academically driven career, university bound, have a social circle that was a little bit different. But I was able to identify that that wasn't the path that my son would ever achieve. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not ashamed that my son's a sheet metal worker by any means. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the success that he's going to reach. Maybe one day he becomes a business owner uh, and his social circle changes. I know that academics isn't the be all and end all of your social circle, but that does play a big part of it. Your colleagues, the people that your day to day interactions with. And it's going to be vastly different working as a tradesman than it would be if you're working around other intellects. But I think every one of us that is pushing young people into a skilled trade, we're doing it to pad our own pockets. It's a new form of job security. The more people that we promote these trades to, the more that we encourage to join our programs, the more young people that we stream into this sector of work is benefiting us. I think it'd be in poor taste as tech educators to push young people away from university pathways. So we're doing it out of selfishness, I suppose, in order to further our own careers. But I honestly don't think that you would meet any tradesperson, especially a tradesperson that's worked in the trades for many, many years, who would say, my goal is for my children to become tradespeople down the road. I could be mistaken on this, but I think that you always want more for your children. And after seeing the effects of the trade on an individual, I don't think that you would ever tell a young person to, like in good faith, to do that. So, in terms of inclusion and diversity, and man, Darren, I do not give a flying fuck if a student is black, if my student is a female, if there's a visible or non-visible disability. It does not matter to me. I will talk about the trades. I will teach the trades. I will talk about opportunities. I will talk about stereotypes and stigmas and how they are outdated. And if they have a genuine interest in these careers, I will give every moment of who I am to help guide them if that's the path they want to take. At the same time, I also tell young people the best part about a trade is the financial security that you get from entering into it, and you do not incur tons of debt, and then you can flip that after getting licensed and go to university, pursue a pathway in university if that's your desire. This is a very scrambled, rambled. You know what I should do? I'm going to take a page of your book here, just have a big sip of coffee, recollect. I don't know. I do not feel that I play a part in putting students into boxes. Because although I'm a trade teacher, tech teacher, I do talk about the value of a university education to my students. I do talk about alternative options. I don't look at any student in my class and have a predetermined, hey, they can do it, hey, they can't do it, they don't belong, they do belong. None of that comes into play for me at all. I don't go out of my way to force the issue of equity and diversity and inclusion. I let students know my door is open. I'm always willing to discuss. I'm always willing to learn. I think schools that have, Paul was talking about, they have a lodge, a thing called the Lodge in his school, and it's for Aboriginal people. You know, that might be exclusive rather than inclusive, just simply based on the name, and I can understand that. But I think this is a topic that I'm going to think a lot more about as this semester unfolds. I don't know. I don't know that anything in my school that I can think about that is super exclusionary, super exclusive in that sense. I do know that a lot of my, I'll say, identified white students, white male students, do get a little exhausted with a lot of what we do in this school. We do the land acknowledgement every morning. We have a lot of, well, because especially with the climate right now, but we do have a lot of Muslim education in the school. It is a very diverse school. We have black awareness. I'm unsure of the actual term. There's a group here for young African Americans, and it seems a lot of that is I have to do PowerPoints every so often where I present some of this material to class that is completely unrelated to tech program, and a lot of students feel exhausted, overwhelmed by how much of it is in place, and I think that might be by trying to be inclusive, we are being very exclusive, or we are watering down a message, or I don't know. I think of this a lot more thought. But I just wanted to follow up with a blog, kind of outlining some of my thoughts and why I took the approach that I did on this week's lesson module. My hope was to initiate some conversation with it by taking an alternative approach. I don't know that it will. I don't know how it will be received by my colleagues or by yourself. But without considering the alternative side of a differing view, I think maybe that might be part of the issue. If we are just assuming that we are being unequal, or we are assuming that boxes are bad, or that we are assuming that schools play a significant part rather than government mandates or policies or procedures, I think we're not looking at the broader picture. So again, I'm hoping that I gave something different, and rather than giving you a cookie cutter response to our reading this week. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's nice shooting you a bit of a video blog. I can say so much more in a blog than I can in a typed post, even though it might seem pretty scattered and all over the place. But that was just a follow up to my entry this week. So I would like I said, I'd love to hear some of your feedback on it, and maybe you could give me some insight that maybe I had missed on this lesson module this week. Talk soon, Darren.